It's always just between us, all right?
Welcome into Between Us at 938 Live. I'm Angela Lim, and as always, we're sharing inspiring stories with many of our guests here today. And today in particular, Shun Ng is my guest in the studio. Acclaimed local singer, songwriter, and very talented fingerstyle guitarist. We'll put him to the test in just a bit. Shun has lived in Singapore, but is now based in Boston. Shun has quite an interesting story of struggling with dyslexia and doing the education in his childhood. There were many struggles for Shun, but he's actually overcome all that to discover his passion for music. We're going to find out more about how he's done that right now. Shun, welcome into the studio.
Hey Angela, it's great to be here.
Let's talk a little bit about you growing up in Singapore. Of course, dyslexia was something that you discovered eventually that you had. Did you always know you had a problem with learning in that sense?
Well, I mean, I guess I always knew that something was wrong. You know,
I wouldn't say it was wrong.
I mean, reading was difficult, more difficult, and I guess my classmates were reading much faster than I, you know, and I was diagnosed when I was 8, so I, from primary 1, it already felt strange, but I didn't really know what it meant. You know, I learned what it meant much later.
Right.
You know? But it was. I just knew I was struggling. Yeah.
So at least for a couple of years, you know, it was confusion. You didn't really know why it was so difficult to catch up at school.
I mean, I thought I was stupid, you know.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, like the teachers would they wouldn't say it outright, but you know, they would imply that, you know, like, well, why can't you get this? You know, why aren't you? Or either that, or I'm lazy, or I'm not trying hard enough, you know.
How did you justify that to yourself? Was it that you weren't interested in studying, or was it boring for you going to school?
It was, I didn't know how to justify it. I mean, after a while, I really did feel like I was stupid.
Okay.
You know, I did feel like I lost a lot of self-confidence, and then I just gave up. You know, I gave up. I just gave up on studying, and I just did whatever I wanted to do.
Speaking of doing whatever you wanted to do, at that time, you know, while other people were laboring over assessment books and trying to score for their exams, what were you particularly interested in?
Well, I was a gymnast when I was 7.
Wow.
So I my sister was a gymnast, and I used to see her jump into the sponge pit, and I loved it, you know. So I told my dad that, you know, I want to do gymnastics, and then I got really serious into gymnastics because I didn't like school. I got really serious into gymnastics, and then I was training with these coaches from China, and they were like really stern and strict with me, and I guess looking back, it taught me a lot of discipline. But I hated gym.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I hated
So it was
yeah.
more like an outlet for you because you didn't like school, so therefore you jumped into something you thought would be more productive for you.
And it just I didn't like it. I wasn't passionate about it. But that's actually how I discovered music.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, a friend of mine brought a guitar into the gym one day, a teammate, and I just see, back then I don't come from a musical family, so I don't think of music as something that people create. You know, I saw it as this like divine thing that only, you know, divine people do. You know,
very abstract.
Right.
Sort of
it was
concept.
very abstract to me. So I remember him teaching me a G chord and you know, teaching me the fingering, and then I strummed that chord and it sounded horrible. but I heard, like, I remember thinking, well, that's kind of like music, you know. That's kind of that's music. I just made music, and that really blew my mind.
Right.
It was, I could, you know, start hearing all these colors, and then you'll teach me a different shape, and then it'll be a different color, and then after a while, you know, music really became an escape. You know, it wasn't to make a lot of friends or to jam with people. It was really just to escape. You know, from everything that was bad in school. I would just go back and I know, okay, I got my guitar, and then I would just play, and then I'd just disappear into the instrument.
It sounded like, you know, it was a lonely place to be if everyone else seemed to be on that same page with learning and doing well in school, and no one seemed to understand why you were having some difficulty. So in a way, you know, it was something sort of an escape, a kind of a retreat into something peaceful for you, perhaps.
It was. I mean, it was really it fed my soul. Yeah.
What were your parents' take on all this? I mean, you're the typical Singaporean parent, right?
Yeah.
Concerned about, okay, I mean, I encourage you going for music, but then what are you going to do with it? You know, the typical reaction.
I was never, I never said that I was gonna do music. You know, but they knew that I was spending a lot of time with it. I was just doing it all the time. And then as things progressed, you know, I guess they saw that I was really serious about it. But I mean, I think they're still worried. You know?
I mean, we're also speaking to certain listeners right now who might have children suffering from dyslexia, and they don't really know much about the condition as well. In a way, you're going to be sort of a voice for a lot of these children who have a lot of talents elsewhere, but are unable to tap on them because people tend to define their achievements through the academic system. We're going to talk a little bit more about how you manage. Who are the people that actually helped you develop your talent, the people who actually gave you that opportunity? We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. My guest today is Shun Ng. He's an acclaimed singer-songwriter and a very talented fingerstyle guitarist. We're going to hear a bit more from Shun about how he's overcome dyslexia and also managed to share his passion with a lot of people from all over the world, apparently. We're going to hear more from Shun in just a moment after this quick traffic update. Stay tuned here on Between Us on 938 Live.
Reset your relationships in Between Us. Our soulful encounter is always just between us on 938 Live.
Chatting today with singer-songwriter and fingerstyle guitarist Shun Ng, who's sharing so far about how he's overcome dyslexia in his childhood and discovered his passion and love for music. Shun, earlier you were saying that things really changed for you. You stopped feeling very hopeless about things, about school, when you discovered music, and particularly the guitar.
I mean, it was always like words never made sense, and I could understand the world finally through musical concepts. You know, I could finally say something. I also realized it was a form of communication, because not only did the G chord make me feel something, but I realized that when I played it, someone else could feel something too. And that was very interesting to me, because this music wasn't just for me. At first it was just for me, but after a while I realized that this is a way to communicate, you know, and that was very powerful. I had a great mentor, Dr. Kelly Tang, who's now the Dean of Arts at SOTA, School of the Arts. And, you know, he was really the first person to really believe in me. And I guess that's what dyslexic kids need, because if everybody tells you you're dumb, you start to believe it. And then if one person tells you, you know, you do that well, it changes everything, you know. It really changes how you see yourself and your self-confidence, and that really I mean, I used to act out in school. I used to skip class and just not care, you know. But when someone believed in me, I decided to, you know, like, yeah, maybe I have something to offer.
Right. Tell us a bit about Dr. Tang a little bit, because she's also actually helped you get into a course where previously they were still looking at academic grades.
That's right. He helped me get into the Singapore Poly, doing a diploma in music and audio technology. He wrote me a letter of recommendation to the school, and they agreed to audition me, although my points were way past what was required, you know, my O-levels. And they agreed to audition me, and I told them in the interview how passionate I am about music and how much it means to me. And they let me into the course.
They made an exception for you, I suppose.
An exception, yeah.
I mean, from then, I mean, you know, how did you discover? I mean, developing that talent is one thing. How did you discover your voice or communicating with your audience when you're performing?
I mean, it was always difficult. I mean, even when I was in poly, even though it was music, reading is still part of everything. I mean, even now, you know, reading emails or reading just a menu at a restaurant, it's always there. It doesn't go away. But you find ways to cope with it, and you don't let it define you anymore. You know, I think that a lot of times it's very easy for you to define yourself by dyslexia. I
mean, when you understand fully, you know, over time what dyslexia really is, it's a condition that, you know, it's much like any other condition, medical condition. No one's really, you can't say that person is flawed, or, you know, in your case as a kid you felt stupid, and has that changed? Something
wrong with me, you know. But it was, you know, later on I just realized that I'm just different, you know. My brain works differently, and I feel like being dyslexic, it does help my music. I still don't read music, but it gave me such an organic relationship with music, because I would really listen, you know, because I had no way to have a graphic representation of music. So I really listen, and I would hear these things, and I would hear patterns, and I would hear the structure. you know, and then I'll understand it organically. I would hear, okay, if I can move that note, the structure falls.
Yeah.
And if I can shift that, you know, it changes the color. You know, so in some ways, you know, I see it as a blessing, you know.
Yeah. And it's very hopeful and very wonderful message, I think, for a lot of children, especially who feel inadequate or who feel held behind.
I mean, I used to be ashamed of it, and I would never talk about dyslexia, but I made it a point to always talk about it, because there's so many people that I know that really feel, I mean, whether it's ADHD or any other form of a learning disability, they really feel like they can't do anything else. You know, I'm lucky because Kelly telling me that, no, you can do something else, you know. But I believe that everybody has something that they can, that they're good at, or something that they can pursue, or something that they love. But I think if you let something define you, if you let something like dyslexia define you, you're not going to find anything else, because you've already been defined.
We're going to talk a bit more about that as well, how the awareness is so important. I mean, people like yourselves, you know, doing well and having people kind of groom and mentor you as well. These are such important elements of discovering the talent of those who you have dyslexia or ADHD, for example. We're going to talk a bit more about how Shun has gotten to where he is now. Apparently a talent spotted by Quincy Jones, who staged a concert for Shun. We're going to talk a bit about that, and also how he's now a 2-time Boston Music Award International Artiste nominee. We're going to hear more from Shun, who's my guest today. Shun Ng is a singer-songwriter and very talented fingerstyle guitarist. We're going to hear some music from Shun as well. So stay tuned here on Between Us. We'll continue right after headline news and sports.
Man is a knot into which relationships are tied, but nothing comes between us. On 938 Live. It's always just between us, right?
Well, look here, baby, I got something to say. I can't move anything that stands in my way. I can't choose between what's wrong and right. Nobody's gonna dare to put up a fight. How does it feel to wake up to no sound? Get up out of bed just to be kicked right down. Let me tell you, baby, your rights came free. But to some, you're just a luxury.
You're listening to Shun Ng, who is acclaimed singer, songwriter, and talented fingerstyle guitarist, sharing so far about his experiences dealing with dyslexia in childhood, and also a little bit more about how he's starting to find his passion for music. Shun, tell us a bit more about, I guess, your encounter with Quincy Jones. Most people are very intrigued by that. The idea that he helped you stage a show as well. Tell us a bit about how you met Quincy.
I mean, that was crazy. Jeremy Montero, you know, St. Paul's King of Swing. I did a new video in Boston, and I showed it to him, and without telling me, he just sent it to Quincy's people. I think they're on the board together or something. And next thing I know, I get an email from Quincy Jones's people saying, you know, when's as soon as you can be in LA. And so I flew out, and went spend the day at his house.
Wow.
Yeah, chatted with him, had a great time. I played for him, and he was so nice. I remember it was the scariest moment of my life, because it was like I was standing there, and it was Quincy Jones and Quincy Jones' vice president, and then my manager, and then, you know, my manager told me, just be yourself, you know. So then I just played, and I completely lost sight of where I was. And I just played, and then after I was done, I was like panting and perspiring, and then Quincy just gave me a hug, and he said, and he kissed me on the forehead and said, "Thank you, man, that was special." And then we had a great time. We talked and hung out till late. You know, it was a great,
How do you feel about, you know, the effect you have on people now when people in your audience come up to you and say, you know, that really moved me, that inspires me to pursue my own love for whatever it is I have in terms of talent or potential? How do you feel about that?
I mean, that's really why I do it, because I remember watching, you know, like artists that I love. You know, it makes me feel, or listening to a great classical piece, you know, makes me feel like I'm listening to music for the first time. And to me, that's the most beautiful experience, and it changes my life. And that's really my goal, you know, to show people things they've never seen before, and to make them feel like they're listening to music for the first time, and to inspire them, and to show them something beautiful, you know. And that's really why I do it. And when it happens, there's nothing greater than that, you know.
Definitely very fulfilling, especially coming from where you were, where people didn't believe in you. Now, I guess in a way you're also kind of lighting the way for a lot of other young musicians.
Right.
What would you say are some of the biggest challenges you've encountered so far, whether in Singapore or overseas, in pursuing your music?
Well, it's actually, the whole thing is a challenge. You know, I used to think in milestones. You know, I would think if I get to Berklee College of Music on a scholarship, I'll have arrived. If I get signed by a management company, I'll have arrived. You know, if I lived my life in milestones. But then I realized that that's all. You know, that's all nonsense, because life is just a series of peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's about. It's the journey. You know, and I would try to define, you know, that's success, you know, but I've realized that, you know, there's no real success. There's no success and there's no failure. You know, I used to be worried about failing. You know, what if I fail? You know, and I realized failure is just a means to your next success, and then after your next success, you're gonna fail again. You know, but the point is to keep going and to keep doing what you love and inspiring people.
That's such a liberating way to think. It takes all the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does,
Failure
yeah.
doesn't really exist.
Right,
It's just a
yeah.
process, right? Tell us about the biggest lessons you've learned so far. Anything you'd like to say to people along the way who might feel a bit disheartened about their situation?
I think, you know, from my experiences, so much amazing things have happened for me. I'm really blessed, and it's really from just taking that leap of faith. It's very, very difficult to leave and to say, I'm gonna do this, because you're scared of failing. You're scared of everything that you know, what if this doesn't happen, what if that doesn't happen. But it's that first step that you take, you know, and then something amazing happens, and then you fail, you know, and then you feel horrible, and then you just push one more step, and then you see success, you know. So then you start to realize that you just got to keep working, just got to keep doing it. You got to keep going for what you believe in, and always do it your way. Because you succeed or fail, it's always better to do it your way, you know.
Yeah, and since that, you know, there really isn't much of, in terms of success and failure for you, not taking any of that really too seriously. We're going to hear more about what's next for Shun, what's coming up for him. Also, how you can actually get a chance to watch Shun perform as well. More details on that in just a moment as well. We'll continue this conversation in just a moment. Shun Ng is my guest today. He's an acclaimed singer, songwriter, and talented fingerstyle guitarist. We're going to hear more from Shun after this short break.
Reset your relationships in Between Us. Man is a knot into which relationships are tied, but nothing comes between us. On 938 Live.
Moving to our final segment of Between Us today on 938 Live, chatting with my guest, singer-songwriter and fingerstyle guitarist Shun Ng, who's been sharing so far about how he overcome dyslexia in order to find his passion for music. Shun, tell us about how you feel, you know, in terms of the, you know, people have been really supportive and really helpful in your growth as a musician.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to, you know, I mean, just speak for others, you know, like yourself now, young people, even people who are older, who struggle with any kind of medical condition or learning difficulty. What would you like to say to them?
I think from a young age, really believe in people. You know, I mean, it was really people's belief in me. I mean, it could be a friend, it could be my mentor, but it's really, you know, like, it's such a powerful thing to believe in somebody or to believe in something, and for some reason that's sometimes the hardest thing to do. You know, it's always very easy to doubt and pick out the chinks in people's armor and say, you know, you're never gonna, you know, be realistic, come on, you know. But sometimes having you know, this crazy belief in yourself is a very, very powerful thing, especially and you know, and sharing that, not only just believing yourself but believing in others. You can share that with people. You know, I think just telling somebody that, and supporting people and telling somebody that, you know, you can do something with your life, you can do whatever you want, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem that apart from your drive and your determination, you know, to excel, without someone actually coming up to tell you, hey, you've got talent, I think you can do well in this, you could have ended up very much differently, you know, struggling in a system that you were not happy in.
I mean, my mentor told me, I was great even when I was horrible, you know. But and that's what made me good at what I do, because I always thought that I was good. And it wasn't like I had an inflated ego and I thought I was amazing, but I believed that I was on the road to something good, you know. And everybody's got to start somewhere. But if you're already starting out thinking, okay, yeah, I can't do it, then you're not, you know. Yeah.
In a way, just give everyone sort of a chance. You know, people that we meet on a daily basis, sometimes they don't, check all the boxes in terms of what we define as successful, or people who can contribute to our lives per se. But they might surprise you in a lot of ways.
Right.
You have
never
managed
know.
to surprise a lot of your critics. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming performance that people can actually catch you in Singapore. That's in December 20th. Tell us a bit about what we can expect from that concert.
That's a Christmas concert. This concert's about love. This concert is about it's about, you know, during the Christmas season. We always, you know, we have all this Christmas lights, and it's all, you know, it's all fancy, you know, and then we sort of have a reason to love in that time of year, you know. But I guess this concert is about more than that. It's a Christmas concert, but it's about loving past Christmas, loving past December, and that's kind of what it's about.
I mean, going forward as well, what's coming up for you? What are you hoping what's the next peak of success you're looking at getting to?
Well, you know, I've really learned that you can't plan stuff anymore. You just have to really just do your best, work hard, you know, take every opportunity, say yes to things, you know, don't feel like you're too good for anything, you know. Be humble, and things will come, you know. I mean, it's very hard to plan, because the things that have happened to me, like I can't plan it, you know. No one can plan that kind of stuff, but with belief and with hard work, I believe things happen.
And definitely hope for all the best in terms of anything that you hope to achieve. Also coming up, you've been nominated for 2 Boston Music International awards, so hope all the best for that. I think, you know,
so
all of us here in Singapore are definitely going to support you. Hopefully that goes well as well. Once again, if you want to check Shun out, he's actually performing at the Victoria Theatre on 20th December. That's at 7:30. If you want to find out more as well, you can head on down to Shun's website. It's www.shunng.com. That's www.shunng.com. Shun, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show today.
Great. Thank you.
This has been Between Us and 938 Live. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Our soulful encounter is always just between us on 938 Live.